Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's live recording here on the School of Radiance podcast. I'm your host, Humble Human on a Mission, here to help you both look and feel your best. Now, the topic of today's episode is on how to be beautiful and radiant in any situation. And I would say that this is particularly important given that we are about to head into the holiday season. And one of the things when I was thinking about recording this episode for you all, some key things to add is really what actually makes someone beautiful and attractive in the first place. Is it running a million miles a minute in regards to words, interrupting everyone, moving about and charging about quickly, going from this place to that place? Say, for example, you're having people in your home, you're entertaining, and you are just this bull in a china shop, getting things done, preparing some yummy foods, getting things decorated for the holidays, either in front of your guests or with your partner and in front of your families. How are you behaving? And one of the things that I wanted to very lovingly point out that I think is one of the aspects that makes someone really attractive is having a regulated nervous system. We all know those individuals, the negative Nancy's who are just talking about this, that, and the other thing. It's kind of like squirrel, right? There's this new thing to talk about that's popular and the culture and in the news and things like that. And they just really dwell on these things. And you kind of like to read the room and, ensure that everyone's on the same page as them. But then there's also the positive patties. And when you think about the positive patty, how they're behaving is they're typically more calm in their demeanor. And oftentimes they're not talking about people, places, and things sort of outside of their own lives or outside of the lives of who they're engaging with. They're not really gossiping. They're not talking so much about current events and things like that. And they're more calm, they have more empathy, they're more caring, and they're more warm. And they're present. They're there in the present moment, making direct eye contact and really speaking in coherent sentences, and are very good at communicating what they are desiring to talk about in that given moment. So that is a great example of, who's going to be more attractive, the negative Nancy or the positive Patty? Well, clearly the positive Patty, and they're going to be a pleasure to be around. You're probably going to end up inviting them back if they are a guest in your home, but also consider how you are when you are in someone else's home. Are you kind, warm, engaging, practice good etiquette, or are you kind of charging about leading the conversation? One of the things that is really key to note here is if you were to say compare the positive Patty to the negative Nancy, if you were to compare their nervous system and whether or not one is more likely to be and have a more regulated nervous system than their counterpart, I would definitely guess that the positive Patty is one to have the more regulated nervous system, which is what makes them more attractive. It makes them allow the way that they are, allow others around them to feel more peace. So when it comes to being beautiful and radiant in any situation, and also a big part of etiquette, I really get into etiquette in the School of Radiance membership and exactly kind of what's involved in that. And the way that we move, the way that we talk, the way that we go about eating our meals, the way we go through doors and sit down and all sorts of stuff. It's kind of like, etiquette for adults. We don't always learn these things. And hello, for those of you who are joining us live, this is a live Q&A. So be sure to ask me your questions about really how can we exude this beautiful radiance in any situation. So now that we've brought up nervous system dysregulation as being one of the primary things that can actually negatively impact someone's attractiveness or ability to be their most beautiful or even just be themselves, is hormones and nervous system. This is really, really key. Great to see you, Sharon. Let me know your questions about, how to show up as a woman, especially during this time of year. And this goes for the guys too, right? This show is about 75% female listeners, 25% male listeners. So this really does actually apply to both sexes. What you can do now to start to regulate your nervous system is actually practice cold therapy. So that could involve a 20-second blast of cold in the shower every day, and just breathe through it. You're going to survive it. Your body and your brain is going to be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to die. You're not going to die. You're going to be just fine. But practicing this exposure to cold is a really great way to actually start to master your nervous system. And I started to do cold plunging, I'd probably say back in about 2010. And in about 2016, 2017, I was able to get into a cold plunge tub and regulate my nervous system in about 2 to 3 seconds. Now, this is not common. If you've ever seen videos of people getting into a cold plunge, they're freaking out. They're huffing, and sometimes they're swearing, and they're just kind of all over the place in regards to what their responses are. Now think about that individual who has this very overly dramatic response to cold exposure, how they're going to respond to everyday things that happen in our lives. They're going to be a little scattered and all over the place, and actually might not be a super dependable person or even make really good decisions because they're kind of just living on a whim. And what's happening in that point from a nervous system and a hormonal perspective is oftentimes those people who are really overly dramatic in their expressions and just they just can't handle the cold, and they make it very known to those around them that they're not having a great time, or they're even attracting attention to them, but they're actually really heightening their adrenaline and cortisol response. Now, signs of a regulated nervous system and also hormones is being able to get into a sticky, tricky, cold situation and be able to regulate yourself within seconds. This takes practice. This is something that's trained. This is something that's honed. And I would say that the way that we hold ourselves and carry ourselves is actually even more important from an attractiveness perspective and a beauty perspective than what we have done with our hair, makeup, and outfit. Yes, those things they do have an impact on the way that we look and the way that we present ourselves. And I think that they're very important. However, it's also the way that you behave. It's the way that you move through situations. It's the way that you move through challenges. It's the way that you engage with others in conversation, whether it's personal or professional. So starting with cold exposure, I know it doesn't sound fun for some of you, is actually a great way to learn how to stay calm in any situation. The reason I'm mentioning this is we're going to be having some holiday engagements and encounters with people. And, the last couple of years have been a bit interesting, to say the least. And there's been a lot of division. And I was actually on social media yesterday, and an individual actually asked an AI sort of like chat bot. We have Open AI and Chat GPT and all that stuff. So we can actually ask AI questions. And one of the things that it asked was, how can, say, for example, I'm just going to use the example that they used. If the devil wanted to mess with people, how would they mess with people? And it actually gave a number of examples of creating distraction and creating division. So just be aware of this, that if you're having divisive conversations come up, you could have someone who's around you that's kind of looking for people with shared values. This is really bad etiquette to bring up things like politics or news or world events or finances in a social situation. So do keep those conversations to a minimum. Unless you're around your family and close friends and you all have the same shared values, you don't want to be making people uncomfortable. You don't want to be creating division. And I'm not saying that to okay, we should coddle everybody with their choices and with their views and with their values. But this is just something to take into consideration when you are maybe going to be engaging with people that are in different circles than you. And you always want to be leaving a lasting impression and really kind of doing your best to gauge the situation and make sure that they're having a good time in conversation with you or wherever you are. So I just wanted to drop that because sometimes if we're having a conversation with someone who doesn't have shared values, we may feel like we need to defend ourselves, and we will get put into sort of more of a fight or flight state, and that adrenaline and cortisol will be peaked a little bit. And especially if you have a dysregulated nervous system, we're going to talk about adaptogens because they definitely do serve a purpose. what you will feel if you haven't honed and cultivated this more peaceful, pleasant, grounded, balanced, centered, and aligned sort of version and countenance of yourself, you are going to feel your heart rate become a little bit elevated, and you might notice that in your body you get a little bit tense. And just notice that. Notice how you've historically responded in tricky situations and conversations when you're around a lot of people. The reason I say this with love is a lot of you listening are really empathic people, very caring, very empathic, very tuned in to your health and wellness and really wanting to be your best versions. I know this because I have met a number of you through one-on-ones, and you've joined my tutorials and you're in my membership. So I know this. This is my read on the room of a lot of listeners here. This isn't just okay, get your Botox and use the skincare product for great skin and to look great. No, it's all the other things that can help you both look and feel your best. Because you could have professional makeup done, you could have just had a great blowout at your hair salon, you could be wearing a designer outfit. But if the way that you are expressing yourself and the words that are coming out of your mouth and your body language and your gestures are showing signs of dysregulation, or maybe past traumas are getting triggered and things like that, it's going to negate all of the money and effort that you spend in your physical appearance if the way that you are emotionally and energetically is off, or a good word to use is actually scrambled. So if you come across people who do display sort of the negative Nancy, the busybodies, just have a little bit of empathy for them. And in your response, don't match them. Don't match them. If you're talking to somebody and they're starting to get riled up, and you really kind of, for your own sake, and just to, if you know that you don't share similar values on, world events or politics or finances or religion or anything, I want you to kind of speak very slowly and with this type of cadence, something that's very warm, make eye contact, make smile. You might not agree, but then you can kind of change the conversation a little bit with a calibrated question to sort of shift the framework of how the conversation is going. This is actually negotiation. I do teach a degree of communication and negotiation in the membership because it's a very important skill to continue to show up as your most beautiful, radiant version. And I've used this skill in many different personal and professional situations. The ability to shift the framework of how the conversation is going and bring it back to one that is more kind, loving, and is in line with etiquette. So ask a simple calibrated question, like a how, what, why question, and maybe ask them something specific that's going on in their lives. Like, what's something you're grateful for this holiday season? Just something super light if you notice the conversation is getting a little bit heavy. That is a little tool and a little gem that I look forward to hearing a number of you using when you are engaging with others this holiday season at upcoming events. Now, we've talked about nervous system regulation tips, which involves doing a little bit more cold plunging and learning to kind of breathe through a tricky situation. We've talked a little bit about hormones and how when you learn to regulate your nervous system, you're not going to be in that fight or flight mode, which is adrenaline and cortisol. You're going to be a little bit more in that clear, calm, collected, eyes on the prize, eyes on the target type of mode. And that's you pulling from more noradrenaline hormone. Cortisol will age you very quickly. So that's also why learning how to kind of behave and respond in any situation in a beautiful way is not only going to leave a positive, lasting impression with those you engage with, but it's also going to be setting you up for slowing aging. When cortisol spikes in a stressful situation or after a workout, what happens is elevated cortisol also tanks your hormones. It also tanks your collagen and elastin in your skin. And it also tanks your adrenals. And you've probably heard of the term adrenal fatigue. We see this a lot in women who are in their late 30s, 40s, 50s, especially going through changes in life, perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause. Number one, the body's changing. Number two, there could be some personal and professional commitments and things with that. There's also family dynamics, there's friend dynamics, and just all sorts of things, right? Relationship with yourself, your relationship with a partner, your relationship with your kids, wanting to make sure that your kids are happy. So when you are having all of these different things coming at you in life, remaining cool, calm, and collected, and just having this beautiful, peaceful, positive demeanor to you is very attractive. And it's also going to help set your body up for success for maintaining your beauty in the long run. This is a key aspect to those who I've worked with over the years who I would consider are radiant. And I've been studying radiance in people since I started as an aesthetic nurse in 2011. I've worked with thousands of patients. And some of the patients that I've seen in their 60s to 90s, they just glow differently. And this is how they operate. It's not just about your products that you put on your skin. It's not just about how you dress yourself up with your hair and makeup and outfit, but it's really how you carry yourself and how you move through life and have this energy. You've heard me say this many times before on the show, that radiance in accordance with Ayurveda is the 10th body. We have our body, mind, spirit, energy as our first four bodies, and the radiant body is the 10th body. And it's basically an accumulation of all of your operating systems and the quality at which they're operating kind of being electromagnetically projected into the world that others will gather this kind of information from and respond to. Now, whether or not people are responding to you in more positive light or negative light, that's something for you to start to observe and notice. And the other thing I do want to mention here, and because we're talking a little bit more, we're having phone conversations with loved ones that maybe we haven't seen in a while, or we're taking that extra time this holiday season to reconnect, is when you are a highly empathic, beautiful woman, you care, you have a big heart, and same with the men here. A lot of times when you're empathic, people will come to you with their problems. So this is also where it's key to have good boundaries on having interdependent relationships and interdependent exchanges with people, not codependent exchanges. When people are coming to you and, fire hosing all of their problems to you, and vice versa, we don't want to be the health and biohacking fire hose to somebody else. Because you're tuning into the show and learning all this helpful information, it's actually kind of a really similar example of maybe someone coming to you with their problems and woes of the world, and then you also coming at them with this really great healthy information to help them be better and feel better. So simply just have empathy for people when you see them in this state. But the age groups of perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause, so late 30s to mid-late 60s, this is a time when the brain can get a little bit haywire because the body's going through massive physiological and hormonal shifts. Sleep might be disturbed. There might be some weight gain. There's obviously going to be hormonal changes too. So just do everything you can every point in the day to make great decisions. Hey, Tamara, to really put attention to detail on every step of the day. How can you look for gratitude? Are you in a peaceful state, or are you in a busybody, negative Nancy state? Having this high degree of self-awareness is a key component to you being as attractive as possible and emanating and moving through life with this beautiful radiant energy. You heard me mention adrenals, and when we are overtaxed and we're overstressed out, and one of the things that I do around the holidays is I don't get into the whole consumerism side of things. Yes, I just had a massive Black Friday sale, 20% off site-wide. That's the biggest sale I've ever done, and I hope you had the chance to take advantage of that over at the schoolofradiance.com. But we can really get quite wrapped up into the consumerism side of things this holiday and thinking that, okay, if I buy this stuff, it's going to show this person how much I love them. The thing here, the kicker here, is you're going to be running to the shops, driving in holiday traffic, spending maybe outside of your budget, and then you have anxiety about that. Same thing goes with rejuvenation. You always want to do your rejuvenation in a way that is going to be sustainable with your budget and lifestyle. But also consider what that person's love language might be. It could be acts of service. It could be quality time. It could be words of affirmation. It could be physical touch. These are some of the examples of people's love languages. So it might not be about, getting an expensive gift and putting a bow on it and giving it to them. It could actually be another form of love that you could share that actually they might appreciate even more. So what about experiences for gifts instead of buying all this stuff or things for the kids that are just going to end up in a landfill and after a period of time, right? For any parents here, you know what I mean. You want to give your kids everything and have, give them the best life possible. But the quality time component is also super key too. So during these times, there are shifts, perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause, where aging tends to happen quite rapidly because of the shifts in estrogen. And when estrogen drops, collagen and elastin also drop too. So this is where we can experience like this aging overnight. And then with men, it's the testosterone that's dropping as well. So they may be lacking that drive. They may be lacking that desire to achieve their goals and their purpose. Men and women go through very different things hormonally as they age, and it can really impact us psychologically on various different levels in the way that we show up. So when testosterone drops in men, what happens there is they may end up starting to lose their hair. They may end up getting a little bit soft around their waistline. They may end up getting a little bit soft in more ways than one. So it's a really good idea for both men and women, for everybody listening here, to keep an eye on what your hormones are doing. So I'm actually going to be taking my Dutch test in a couple of days here. I have to do it on day 21 of my cycle, and I do this every year. I do my full labs with my family doctor to see what's going on with the thyroid, with the cholesterol, with all sorts of things. And then I do other tests like the Viome test for the knowledge on what's happening in my gut so that I'm eating the right foods for my gut. That's on my biohacking page. And then I'll work with other practitioners in the functional and integrative space to do something like a Dutch test, which gives you a read on really what your hormones are doing, as well as an organic acid test. And this is looking at things like pesticides and heavy metals and mold that could also be present in the body. So what do you do with that information? Well, you take that information and support the pathways in your body or the organs in your body that are on display that need the support, okay? If you think that, oh, I'm just going to age gracefully here and all of that, you are setting yourself up to be lifted as you age. So lift or be lifted. So that's why physical activity is so key too. So just a little tip here also, to be your best version this holiday season when you're engaging with people, is to actually increase your level of physical activity. Increasing your level of physical activity is said to be one of the best ways to enhance and really provide positive benefit to your mental health. So if you're kind of in your head a little bit too much, you're not exercising enough, you're low on energy, I want you to do that 30-minute walk after your dinner with your partner or a loved one or a friend. I want you to get to the gym, lift some of those weights. If it's been a while, book time with a personal trainer. I'm at the gym almost every day, and I've never been happier. My body's never been more dialed in with, I've never been this dialed in before with my nutrition, with my exercise, with my personal self-care, and the personal development. I teach personal development, so I'm always learning personal development stuff too behind the scenes, and always engaging with people in the clinic and online as well. So learning lots from each and every one of you along the way too. And this is a great thing for us to offer, is to kind of support and help each other out. And when it comes to our adrenals, I did mention that earlier, these are glands that sit on top of your kidneys. And when we are kind of more stressed out and we're dysregulated from a nervous system perspective, or from a hormonal perspective, or also even from an emotional perspective, energetically, spiritually, the list goes on all the ways that we can be impacted that can affect our level of attractiveness. And I think you're going to be your most attractive state the more dialed in you are, because that also shows a high degree of discipline and a high degree of you valuing yourself. You valuing yourself by providing the opportunities for self-care, whether that's your skincare in the AM and PM, whether that's maybe getting some lasers and in-clinic rejuvenation, doing your dermal rolling, listening to this show, doing something that's positive and constructive is a great idea. But to really support the adrenals, what we want to do here, and this I think is imperative to mention around this time of year when things just get a little bit quote unquote busier, is to really bump up your intake of adaptogens. Adaptogens help the body to adapt, and adaptogens help support the adrenals. So again, if you're stressed out, the cortisol is elevated, your adrenals will be tapped. And what happens downstream from that is your minerals and nutrients will become depleted as well. So that's why I want to be taking things like zinc and magnesium, making sure you're consuming enough protein. I consume about 1 to 1.5 grams of protein a day per pound of body weight. I think I'm probably about 130 pounds now. I'm about 5'8.5", something like that. And so I'm actually kind of tall in real life. You might not know that about me. But anyways, you do definitely also want to make sure that you're consuming about 2 to 2.5 liters of water a day and about 10 to 12 grams of collagen a day. But one of the things you might not be as dialed in with is the adaptogens that you're taking daily too. So again, the adaptogens are typically coming from mushrooms, not the psychoactive kind. Sorry to burst your bubble there. These are the adrenal supportive kind of mushrooms that have, decades of research, tons of research to back up the benefits of reishi mushroom, chamela mushroom, ashwagandha, lion's mane, and labacopa, to name a few. And a really easy way to get your adaptogens in a tasty way as well is actually with the Organifi products. And you've heard me talk about Organifi many times here on the show, and I've been taking adaptogens for years. And life is always something that comes up. So the more adaptogens you have in your system, the better your body can manage stressors and become more resilient. So I'm a huge fan of the Glow formula by Organifi. That one tastes like a pink lemonade. It has tremella mushroom in it. But it also, so it's an adaptogen, but it also is very hydrating to our cells. And that's why we take things like, or use things like hyaluronic acid in our skincare. And my Always Radiant skincare products that are ready now. I'm actually making more now as well because I sold out on my first run. Thank you, everybody. By the way, the Always Radiant skincare line is completely self-funded. It's funded by each and every one of you in the community. I did not work with outside investors. This has been a labor of love for many years, as many of you know, and it is officially here. So there's a cleanser, there's an eye cream, hyaluronic acid serum, carbon C60 serum, light moisturizer, heavy moisturizer, and there's also a recovery cream, which I think, a recovery spot gel, which I think is helpful to mention because I've been doing a little bit more, Christmas baking and cooking, and with my cast iron pan, I can finally lift that pan up and turn it because cast iron pans are heavy and I'm much stronger now. If you know, you know. Cook with cast iron, by the way, or stainless steel. Forget about your Teflon or ceramics, everybody. Those are terrible for you. But yes, I do have a couple of cooking marks on my hands at the moment. I have 2 to be exact. And the recovery spot gel is actually great. If you get a little cut or abrasion and you need to support the skin, just put a little bit of gel on the area that's needing some support twice a day. And I'm happy to say that cuts and burns on my dear hands here have gone away at record speed with that product, which is great. So getting back to adaptogens, the Glow formulation from Organifi is fantastic. So take that, once a day. Pink lemonade's great drink. It's tasty. And then they also have their green juice, which is a great way to start your day as well. You can have that one. I kind of like it warm, like almost like a matcha latte, but you can also have it cold. And then they have their Harmony, which is like a hot chocolate that you can take before bed. So if you kind of have that sweet tooth at the end of the night, after dinner, before bed, maybe have that Harmony as a lovely sort of holiday hot chocolate that's actually going to be healthy for you and contains those adaptogens. So you can get those all at my biohacking page or go straight to Organifi.com/Varga and use code Varga for 20% off. There's a reason why I've been talking about this product for a long time, because it works. It's also glyphosate free and third-party lab tested, and it actually tastes good. Let me know if there's any questions in the chat regarding how to exude beautiful radiance in any situation, especially around the holidays. One little tip here is if you are in your kitchen or your home and you're doing things and you're cooking dinner, you're cleaning up, at what pace are you doing those things? Are you doing them frantically? Or do you have some music on? Are you sipping on some coffee with your protein in it? So good. Or are you sipping on hot water, honey, and lemon? Do you have some music on? Do you have some soft lighting? Does your house smell good and clean? Or does it smell like mold? right? That's bad for you. Mold is totally toxic. What are you doing? How are you behaving? How are you moving through your everyday life? Tamara, I can see you on video here. Great to see you. Give me a nod if this has been a good reminder for you to just kind of slow down and move through life with a little bit more peace. Enjoy your life. Enjoy your life with your beautiful partner as well. I mean, they're watching you too. So are your kids. Sometimes we just need these little reminders, right? How to behave in the holiday season to look great. Well, just calm down and have a little bit more peace and be in gratitude for what you have. Gratitude is a great way just to kind of settle your nervous system and your mind as well. And do take time to meditate and pray and do those things that are positively constructive. If you are feeling a little bit stressed out or a little bit anxious, there's extra things that are happening in your personal life from health perspectives with your loved ones. Please do not go to escapism with drugs and alcohol. I would rather you focus on things like the School of Radiance podcast, join the membership, tutorials, book a one-on-one with me, listen to things that are going to be supportive of your health. Now, I will make a delineation here, is that the people that you choose to listen to and you choose to get valuable, helpful information from, notice how they speak, because oftentimes when I listen to podcasts, or sometimes I even have guests on the show, before we even record the show, I make it very clear to them to actually speak in a more calm demeanor. Because a lot of times when we listen to these health-focused biohacking podcasts, the speakers themselves and the hosts are very much in this extremely high beta state, which when you listen to that and realize all the things that you're doing wrong in your life, basically yelling at you to do this instead and buy this new product, and oh, you've been doing that wrong for years, that's not going to be good for your brain. It's actually going to put you in a high cortisol state and have you in that high beta state, which is when we get a little bit more cortisol. So just pay attention to the quality and the cadence of the information that you are consuming, and maybe not zone out on like Netflix or Amazon Prime. Like maybe listen or watch something that might be a bit more interesting and educational. There's something to be said for having a boring life. There's something to be said for having a peaceful life. In fact, I would go so far as to say that if you have the ability to switch up how you respond right now with how you move in everyday life, with getting things done in your home, with going to this event or that event or having this conversation, if you just take the time to start to cultivate self-awareness of how you are, and also reflect on how you've responded in the past during these times of years. The time of year that we're in right now, we're getting into the holiday season. Because if you have been that busybody, I just want to lovingly say to you, I love you. Just calm the F down. Just chill out, right? Chill out. Maybe, okay, have that little glass of vino if you want. I would suggest champagne instead because there's less sugar to it. I'm a huge fan of a little bit of champagne because it comes from the Champagne region of France. It doesn't have the same glyphosates. It has lower sugar content. So if you're looking for something fun and you don't drink very much, which I don't think you should drink very much anyways, but we typically do a little bit more this holiday season. I mean, they don't call it spirits for nothing. And just think about this for a second. If maybe you were at a family event and someone had a family member or friend had a little too much to drink and they had some loose lips and said some things that maybe weren't the best, don't be that person. Just have a really good awareness of how you are, how much you're eating, how much you're drinking. Maybe go for different types of alcohol like champagne and just have a little bit if you want to have a little bit. Or maybe get like a sparkling apple cider or something like that. Or have the Organifi drinks, because you do want to watch your sugar and toxin intake with alcohol and mixed drinks, because they will make you feel a little bit foggy actually. Full transparency, I cooked the best stew of my life yesterday. It was a grass-fed beef stew. It was on point, and I deglazed my pot with a little bit of Italian wine. And this was like a cheap cooking wine. It was like a, I don't know, $16 bottle. it's going in the stew, for crying out loud. It's not going to be anything fancy. But even just like a little bit of alcohol, like I really feel it. I really feel it the next day. I also put a little bit of Guinness in the stew too. So if you're looking for some rich flavor, a little bit of deglazing with wine and a little bit of that richness from a dark stout with Guinness is just going to make an incredible stew. And herbs from the garden and veggies from the garden as well. It was a lot of fun cooking this stew for my family last night. I really enjoyed it because I mean, you can feed an army if you do a big stew, right? For days, well, maybe a day. But just a little tip there to go easy on the alcohol. Drink the adaptogens. Go for non-alcoholic drinks instead. Do like maybe some mulling cider on the stove instead of serving alcohol to your gas. That's going to make your home smell incredible. And Sharon says this is great. Thank you, Rachel. Yeah, I mean, these are just reminders for each and every one of you. I know a lot of you are already on the right track, but sometimes you just need a little bit of a nudge and a reminder to just calm down and go through life in this holiday season with peace and being grateful for who you are, what you have, what you've overcome, what you have in your life, because you probably, the fact that you can listen to the show, you have a lot more available to you than a lot of other people in this world. So practice that gratitude, have that beautiful, peaceful demeanor. It will make you more attractive and it will just make you feel better. And then after the holidays are over, you're not going to have this crash or this come down or also weight gain. So continue to stay dialed in with your exercise routines and things like that too. 100% people are going to look at you differently when you are in better shape. They're going to respect you more because when you show that you care for yourself and you don't have excess weight around your belly, you get to the gym a couple times a week, you do weight bearing exercises, you do cardiovascular training, you do weight bearing exercises also in the strength and conditioning bracket. You're stretching, you're looking after yourself. People will look at you differently and they will regard you with the higher level of respect. I know that might sound superficial, but what it shows is you're disciplined and you probably have good boundaries in your life. You have good boundaries with your health and wellness. So you probably have good boundaries in the way that people are going to speak and respond to you as well. So these are just sort of some unconscious things that you might not have thought about that are actually a part of impacting the way that you are perceived in regards to your level of attractiveness and beauty. So keep that nervous system regulated. Try some cold therapy in the AM with a 20-second blast with a cold shower. Do a hot bath in the evening. Do your sauna in the evening. I love doing my sauna a couple of nights a week. I notice if I don't do it enough, actually. And go easy on the alcohol. Continue to take your adaptogens during this time and continue to focus on your self-care and don't be too busy. All right. I love you all so much. Are there any final questions here? I know, Tamara, you're here live. Let me know any questions or thoughts, anything that's kind of come up for you, because any thoughts or comments or questions that's coming up for you might also be coming up for those who are catching the replay, who are part of the School of Radiance podcast community. And just want to let you know, I love you all so much. I wouldn't be here creating this content, launching the Always Radiant skincare line if it wasn't for your ongoing support and trust. So deep gratitude from my heart to yours. And also it must be pretty cool for you to know that this line was able to be created with a high level of integrity without outside investors telling me to compromise on quality. There is one final thing. If you're seeing blowout sales for skincare that are like 70 to 80% off, it's actually an indicator that that skincare product was marked up significantly. The fact that companies are able to do that type of steep discount means that they're probably making that product for a couple of bucks. The fact that they could do like a Black Friday 70 to 80% off on skincare and personal care products. So just something to consider if you're like, oh, why did you do 20% instead of like 70 to 80%? It's just not doable. It wouldn't be doable. Okay, Tamara, best way to learn about the new products. Thank you. Oh, I love you, Tamara. Tamara, for those of you listening, Tamara's been a long time one-on-one and tutorial client of mine. And I know you're ready for the membership. I love you so much. It's great things for you to learn in there. I'm actually recording a membership lesson right after this actually on exactly how to carry ourselves. So the way that we hold ourselves with our walks, with our gestures, with our words, with our countenance, with our expressions. So this is where I can actually show you and demonstrate these things for you. And I'm telling you, whenever I go out, people notice. People notice that my man is taking the chair out and I'm sitting down and then he's nudging the chair back in. They notice the high degree of etiquette that I have, and they respond to me in a better way. I get treated better, essentially. And I'm comfortable and confident in any situation. You can learn these things too. So the best way to learn about the new products is Tamara's question. In my fall tutorials in lesson 7, I actually did a run through of the different products that I have and how to use them. So you will always learn the how, what, why of products and application in my tutorials, with my winter one happening very soon. And my products are all available on my skin shop. So if you go to theschoolofradiance.com, the link is in the description of this podcast episode. Go to the skincare tab, and you are going to see the Always Radiant skincare, one of the moisturizers, front and center on the skin shop. If you go to the skincare tab, then you're going to go to the Always Radiant skinshop.com. This is my online store where you can find all of the products. I sell about 200 skincare, hair care, makeup, personal grooming, dermal rolling supplies, all in one place. So you can order everything. But if you go to Tamara says, so far, I love them. Thank you so much. Oh, that means the world to me. It's little blood, sweat, and tears went into creating this line, that's for sure. Years in the making for me to feel confident and proud to put my name on this. So if you go to my skin shop and just go in the search bar and type in Always Radiant Skincare, you're going to see all of the products that I made there. So the foaming cleanser, that's a really great cleanser that's going to take off your makeup, do about 2-3 cleanses in the PM to remove your makeup. No need for makeup wipes or anything like that. Similar to other cleansers that I've worked with in the past, but this one is super clean. And obviously do a cleanse in the AM. The eye cream, it's more like an eye serum, but when you put it on, you will actually see visible tightening to the skin around your eyes. It's pretty cool. It has this like shrink wrap kind of effect on the eye skin. And so that's really helpful for lower eye bags and fine lines and wrinkles. And it's also feeding and nourishing the skin. Then you're going to want to top that off with either the hyaluronic acid serum, which goes without saying, or the carbon 60 serum, which is a super potent antioxidant serum. So what I did today was I used the foaming cleanser, put on my eye cream, and then I put the carbon 60 serum, and then actually just went straight to my moisturizer. That carbon 60 serum it's expensive because the carbon 60 antioxidant is really expensive. But this is an example of a product you can put on your skin to get the benefits of the antioxidant, but it makes your skin feel fantastic and glowy and dewy. I mean, look at my skin. It's looking extra fabulous, isn't it? I also did my scrub too this AM. But you can also, there's directions on the back of like how many pumps to take, depending on the weight of your body. Kind of have to be a little bit conscious about different claims that I make with skincare products and consuming them internally. So I kind of have to skirt around that. So there is a little bit of a table on the back of the carbon 60 of how to take that one. And then there's a light moisturizer, so if you're a little bit acne prone. And then there's a heavy moisturizer, say for more dry, mature skin. And then, yes, of course, I'm going to be doing a scrub next. That one is next in production. But these products are fantastic. And I'm just really happy to be offering really high quality products that doesn't have any preservatives in them aside from colloidal silver, ionic silver, which is totally revolutionary. The water that's used in the products is actually 6-time filtered deionized water. Most skincare products are literally just using tap water, and they're using other preservatives that aren't the colloidal ionic silver. And I'm sure a lot of you here know about the benefits of colloidal silver too for the body, and how helpful that is as an antimicrobial agent. So that's why it's basically a natural preservative. And then there's lots of the hyaluronic acid serum that's in it. It's a form of hyaluronic acid serum that can actually be absorbed transdermally. Most hyaluronic acids actually just sit on top of the skin and they grab water from the environment, but this one actually grabs water from the environment and pulls it deeper into the skin. So you're getting that transdermal application and absorption of the hyaluronic acid. And there's hyaluronic acid in many of the products that I have too, and other great things as well. I can comfortably say that every single product I made, I would actually put in my mouth and eat. I mean, it might not taste great. Like carbon C60 tastes kind of like this black seed oil, and it's darker. And it does have like a little bit of a smell to it, but boy, does it make your skin feel great. So thank you, Tamara, for asking about my products. That means the world to me, saying so far I love them. You're very welcome. And I'm here to serve you. So continue to reach out over at theschoolofradiance.com. Send me an email, info@theschoolofradiance.com. Book your one-on-one, join tutorials, and the School of Radiance membership. The ways to do that are all available at theschoolofradiance.com. If you have a question, you're not quite sure how to start, you can actually book a quick 15-minute session with me and tell me what your needs are, and then I will point you in the right direction. But at the end of the day, I'm here to save you time and money and help set you up for success for not only looking beautiful now, but really both looking and feeling your best for many years to come. I love you all so much. Have a great rest of your day. Hope this encouraged you. And I'll see you again right here on the School of Radiance podcast.